This is our Chapter 3 review packet. Our first 3 questions say to identify the terms and like terms in the expression. So here we're going to divide our expression into terms, and then we're going to identify our like terms here. So I'm looking for any m, so I'm going to circle all my m's. So I have a positive m and a positive 6m, and I'm just going to box my n. So I'm showing that all my m's I could combine if I would need to, and my n's I could combine if I needed to. For number 2, I'm going to again separate all of my terms. I'm going to go through, I'm going to start with t's, since that's my first term, and circle all the other t's. Then I'm going to box t squared. Now t squared and t are different because even though they have the same letter, they don't have the same exponent. And then last, I'm just going to underline my constants there, and I don't have any other constants I could combine with that. Then our last problem, again, going to separate them. Make sure you separate each term with the sign that is in front of that term. It belongs to that term there if we're looking at them separately. So I'm going to circle my x squareds, see if there are any other x squareds here, and there is one more, positive 10x squared. Then I'm going to box my x's, so I have a positive 7x and a negative 5x, and then I'm going to underline my constants, and I again have 2 of those. 4 and 5, and 6 and 7 tell us to find the sum or the difference. So here we're going to be using our distributive property first. So I'm going to distribute this positive 2 to 3.5m and that positive 1 there. So I'm going to rewrite it underneath as 3 minus 7m plus 7m plus 2. Now I'm going to do kind of what I did on the very first couple problems. I'm going to separate these into terms, and I'm going to circle like terms, identify those like terms, and I'm going to underline here. So here I have negative 7m and positive 7m. Those actually cancel out, and I'm just left with 3 and a positive 2, so I'm going to combine those constants, and I'm just going to be left with the answer 5. Number 5 is similar to number 4, but here we're actually distributing twice, and both times it is a fraction. Now, when we're distributing this fraction here, this first fraction, 1/2 to 8, it's taking 1/2, multiplying it by 8, or 8 over 1. So 1/2 times 8 over 1 is just 4. 1/2 times negative 6y is negative 3y. Then I have plus 2y minus 5. Again, I'm going to separate these into terms so I can see which ones I can combine. I'm going to circle all my constants. I'm going to underline my y's here. And so remember to put it in standard form. We put our variable first, so I have a negative 3y plus a positive 2y. I'm left with a negative y, or negative 1y. That would also be alright. And then 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So I could have that, or some of you may have negative 1y plus negative 1, also fine, or negative 1y minus 1. All of those are okay answers. If we look at number 6 here, we're going to again distributing this negative 8 to negative 2.5a and a positive 3. So underneath we're going to rewrite this as 4a minus 5 plus, since I have that negative a times a negative 2.5a, and that is 20a, and then negative 8 times positive 3 is negative 24. So I'm going to separate these terms once again. I'm going to circle my a's, and I'm going to underline my, I meant to keep that symbol with that 20. I'm going to underline my constants there. So I have a 4a and a positive 20a, so that's a positive 24a. And then I have a negative 5 and a negative 24. So when I combine those two together, it's negative 29. So I have 24a minus 29. Now number 7, again, we're going to distribute our 2 in the beginning here. And also this negative sign, so I'm going to add a 1 there. It's just like having a negative 1. I'm going to distribute that to both pieces inside my inside my parentheses. So 2 times 7w is 14w plus 8 minus 2w plus 1. Again, we're going to separate these terms here. And I'm going to underline my w's, and I'm going to box my constant. So I have 14w and a negative 2w, so that is a positive 12w. And then I have a positive 8 and a positive 1, that is a positive 9. So I have 12w plus 9. So let's go on down to 8 and 9. It says factor out the coefficient of the variable. So if we don't remember what coefficient is, we can look it up. That is actually the number that is in front of our variable. So number 8, that's going to be a negative 3. So I'm factoring out that negative 3. Now when I think of factoring out, it's basically doing the opposite of the distributive property. So when we distribute in the distributive property, we're multiplying. Here we're dividing. So we're taking a negative 3m and dividing it by negative 3. So we should just be left with a positive m. And then we take this positive 12 and we're dividing it by negative 3. So a positive 12 divided by a negative 3 will be a negative 4. So that should be our factored answer there. A quick way to make sure that's correct, if we take this negative 3 and distribute it, it'd be negative 3 times m, which would be negative 3m, and negative 3 times a negative 4, which is a positive 12, and that's exactly what we started with. So we know that we've got that one correct. Now number 9 is a little bit trickier because we are factoring out the coefficient here, and this is actually a fraction. So we're going to factor out negative 3/5. So we're going to be left with just AK. And now when we factor out this negative 3/5 here, we're taking negative 3/10 divided by negative 3/5. Now remember, when we're dividing fractions, we keep the first fraction the same and we multiply by the reciprocal here. So we flip that fraction. So now I'm going to look, and I'm actually going to be able to do some cross canceling. This 10 becomes a 2, this negative 5 becomes a negative 1. And so we have a negative 1 times a negative 1, which is a positive 1, and a 2 times 1, which is 2, and this is positive. So we're left with negative 3/5 on the outside of our parentheses and k plus 1/2 on the inside of our parentheses. Number 10 says write an expression that represents the perimeter of the polygon. Now the main part, the key part here is we have to know what perimeter means, and that means we're going to add all of our sides together. So we have 5 sides here. That's what this polygon, this is actually a pentagon. We're going to add all 5 sides together. So I'm going to start here, 3x minus 1 plus x plus 5 plus 3x, so I'm just going clockwise here, plus 2x plus 4 plus 2x. So now again, this is combining like terms. There's just a lot of terms here. So we're going to separate all of our terms. And I'm going to first underline in blue here all my x's. And then I'm going to use a little squiggly line in green and mark all of my constants. So I have a 3x plus another x, which is 4x, plus 3 more, which is 7, plus 2 more, which is 9, plus 2 more, which is 11. So I should have 11x. Now I have to look at my constants. Negative 1 plus 5, so that's a positive 4, plus 4 more, which is 8. So the perimeter of the polygon can be written with this simple expression, 11x plus 8. So this is the first page of our Chapter 3 review. Go ahead and go to the second video in order to grade your second page.